Welcome out to the Ben Oswald field. Ben Oswald himself in the flesh sitting next to me as soccer season getting around, high school sports getting around at this time of year. Ben, thanks so much for sitting down with us. You guys are running your camp right now. I actually just posted onto our website a little bit of a preview for the soccer season, but I figured what goes best with a preview than a chat with the coach to talk about what's going on.
Of course.
Well, I guess going into this year, recap last year a little bit. Roaring Fork, the way the season ended for you guys, quarterfinals of the playoffs, not the way you wanted to, but if you look over at last year, how would you say the entire campaign went?
It went better than I expected, to be quite blunt about it. We started off a little shaky. And a little inconsistent, and I'd moved some players around positionally, and so that was part of that. And it just took us a little bit as a complete group, to get in the groove. Now, the great thing was that we peaked at the right time of the season, which was playoff time. And over the last 6 games that we played, we were improving steadily. Our goal scoring was going up. The number of goals we were giving up went down. Obviously, 2 things that you want, but players were participating. They were executing. They were actually playing the game. The game in the final game, which was a quarterfinal match over at Roaring Fork, the field unfortunately played such a massive role in that game. It's just not a great feeling to know that you definitely were competitive enough to take that game. And I felt that we were a better side than they, but we had no place to play. It was a short and narrow field with really long grass, full of holes, and it was their home field. They knew exactly how to play it and played it almost to perfection. Now, they were a team that expected us, because they were scoring goals by the bucket loads. And I see now why, because they had a great big guy centrally. They'd ping the ball in the air to him. He would flick it on to guys, and they would run onto it, and they had very speedy forwards, so on and so forth. So I can see how they were rolling teams that way. Plus, they played a really deep sweeper, so if you tried to go long over them, they always had this kid in the back who, again, was a decent player. The deal was, had it been on a regulation field, we would have tore that guy to pieces because he couldn't defend that much space. Yeah. Therefore, the tactics of the game were taken away. The tactics did not come into play that day. We couldn't dribble, we couldn't pass, we couldn't get the ball off our feet hardly. It was a very frustrating day. That being said, it was a proper season for these boys. I was sad for the 10 seniors because I felt that we could have gone at least one deeper in the playoffs. So, in retrospect, a positive year.
Well, I think looking at that season going into this year, 2 questions just really to kind of look at this. The first one is you lose some pieces, but you're bringing back some major pieces too that I think are I'm excited to see how they grow. The first one, Quinn Basenko, I think you got to start with him.
Quinn has been an exceptional player for as long as I can remember. Clear from the first time I really noticed him was at 9 years old, and he was already just so passionate about the game and always with the ball, and he has now become, he was always kind of a sawed-off little guy when he was younger, but now he's grown into this strong, tall, big young man, and of course he's nowhere near done growing and filling out, but his abilities, he had 20 assists, number 3 in the state last year with his assists. We're hoping to get that up closer to 30 this year. We are going to implement a system or 2 of play that hopefully this year gets him in even better positions to be effective. And speaking of that, that's what I'm looking overall for in all of our players, is for them to be effective. We don't need stars. Stars come because of doing exceptional things in that moment. But true stardom to me is the guy that's willing to do everything that he needs to do to make the team successful and to make his teammates around him successful. Those are the true stars of the team, not necessarily the guys that stick 30 goals in the back of the net. They're the ones that are easily to look at because statistics in soccer are sometimes hard to dig out, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So we've got such a unique group of players this year. A heavy sophomore class that has been brought up by my assistant coach, Chad Gorby, one of my two assistants, Aaron Dobson being the other. Aaron played for me, as you well know, years ago. He's our goalkeeper coach and my first assistant. And Chad has been with these boys and raised them proper in that he got them all to be technically fairly proficient at this age, some much greater than others. But he kept it simple for them, and these boys have flourished in that environment. In that, and they're a special group of kids in that they love the game enough that they watch it all the time. They're engaged with it. It is not the only thing they do. There's several of them right now are off on a river trip again. They do all sorts of stuff. They're very well-rounded athletes, but they are passionate about this game. And that is such a massive key for our ability to teach the small details of the game that make such a big difference when it comes to crunch time. So the measuring stick is never the team that you can 10-0.
Yeah.
That means nothing. It gives you a chance maybe if you play a side like that to work in less experienced players and rest guys, so on and so forth. But the real measuring stick is, of course, how you perform against teams that are as good as or better than you, and can you hold up to them?
Well, and I think the big question going into those games for you guys, where you graduated the most kids from, really is going to be on that defensive end. You're going to have to find a new goalkeeper with Zane. Well, not find a new goalkeeper, but have a new goalkeeper in net with Zane Timko gone.
Yeah.
And then your defense, you graduated 4 or 5 kids that had roles on that defense.
We did, but the good news is that we've got replacements for all of them. And again, younger, but these guys played really well as a JV. They rolled everybody last year except one team as a JV group, which is kind of indicative of what may be coming down the road. Although it's amazing the change between a freshman and a junior year.
Especially for boys.
The growth is just absolutely phenomenal, and we're seeing it in this group, which is just sometimes absolutely shocking. They go away for 2 or 3 months and they come back and it's like, holy Moses, who are you? You're 50 pounds heavier and 6 inches taller. But this is a group of kids that our objective is to have quality backup at every position on the field, including the goalkeeper. We have an exceptional goalkeeper in Quinn Phillips from Buena Vista. May well yet be the best that we have put out, and we've put out some dandies over the years. But Quinn, he's a smaller statured kid, but massive in his ability to cover the goal. Incredible. He's got a great brain, great organizer. We've got good, solid defending, physical defending. The Pitts brothers, Caden and Colby, both very solid in that department. These are guys that I could also stick in the midfield. I think all of our backs, Max Ferguson, he'll be another one more than likely. Nico Wilson, who is a senior, who I'm thrilled. He was going to move to New Mexico for his final year to go to a special school down there, but decided to stay with us, which was in no uncertain terms massive for us, because he has turned into an excellent outside back and fits into the system that we're going to run this year just to a T. So we've got a solid defense. We've got other kids that we can throw in there. We've got a super midfield. Bosanko, Shaler, oh, good grief. Flynn Brown, who we're going to run deeper in the field, not just as a forward this year. I'm missing some guys I know. Bowman Russell, we're moving him from the back to the front. Bowman's been a goal scorer for as long as I know. We've always just needed him as a defender because he's big and strong and smart and takes care of things. This year, I'm hoping that he will light it up front, as he's a big, strong, physical kid. He transfers his basketball skills directly to this game. He's very good using his body. He's got a wicked left foot. He's going to be not only a good goal scorer, I predict, but also an incredible foil for Flynn Brown, who is a very gifted goal scorer. So, oh gosh, I tell you, we have been grinning about this since the end of last season. We knew what was coming. We've known this. We know 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road. I can look across the field right now at our next group of kids that will be coming in. Some of them next year, some of them the following year, and you just see the pipeline now continuing. Again, we have gaps in there, of course, but. So far, so good.
Well, I'm excited to see it. Season starts up in just a couple weeks, the 17th, the first scrimmages, and then right after that, the 29th,
Yes,
I believe, your
yes.
first game, and that'll be home against Canyon.
We're very excited, and I invite the public to please come out on the 17th. We have 3 very strong teams coming in. We play these guys. This is the 4th year now that we've gotten together for a round robin. We have Colorado Academy, which is a perennial high-end finisher in the 3A, and then we've got Battle Mountain, which was 3 years ago state champ in 4A. We've got Steamboat coming back again, and we're hosting this year, and the first game is at 8 a.m. here at the park. The JV team will be playing a similar schedule at the high school turf field. So we've got a game at 8, we've got a game at 11, and then the final game at 2 p.m. So these are just 25-minute halves, but it'll be a good run out for these guys. And then the 29th, we open up at home against Canyon City. I'm going to visit with the athletic director again this morning. We've been trying to move some of our games to the stadium and to do them in the evening so that we can give more of our fans an opportunity to come to our games. It's always fun to play in the evening under the lights, and I'm trusting that we will get some of those over there this year. So I'm looking forward to just a really fun season. The number one concern, as always, is to keep my boys healthy and happy and eligible. There's always the school part. We can never forget the realities of what they're really about. So it's just wonderful. This is year umpteen thousand for me, and I'm still here. And I'm here because of my players. That's the only reason I'm here. It's not for my own. I enjoy this. If I didn't, I'd leave. It's certainly not for my glory. My investment, my paycheck, my real paycheck is in the hundreds of kids that I've gotten to know on a very personal basis, and to watch them grow and how they're doing. So, some of these guys have returned to coach in the club. They're, of course, family people. They've invested in the community. A lot of them have come back, raised family. It's a great way to be involved in the community. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We'll look forward to the 17th when we're out here.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.